So the idea behind MC3 started in about 2000 when we introduced Esprit du Siècle. Esprit du Siècle was a one-off bottling to celebrate the third millennium, and the concept of Esprit du Siècle was to blend across the 20th century. And finally, we blended 11 different vintages, one per decade, with the youngest from 1995 and the oldest from 1900. And the main part of the quality of Esprit du Siècle and the concept is the use of mature vintage champagne as base wine for a blend. That is what made Esprit du Siècle so different and so new. And so we have kept that idea of using vintage champagne as base wine to create MC3. And finally, MC3 is more than just blending across varieties, villages and vintages, but also we have added another layer of sophistication in the blending of MC3 in using wines that have been aged in 3 different universes. And the 3 of MC3 means these 3 different universes and these 3 stratum of blending MC3. The first third of MC3 is made of still wines that have been vinified and aged in stainless steel. These wines are really fruit-driven and they bring the basement of the blend and they bring the fruitiness to the blend. Then in a second time we add the second third of vintage blends that are still wines but that have been aged for a few months in large oak casks in order to develop a secondary maturity with more blonde notes, with more softness, almost sweetness, and the most important for us is that these wines have developed more patina and will bring creaminess and texture and a sort of sucrosity, a sort of sweetness into the blend. And the third of MC3 is made of vintage champagne that are not still wines anymore, but they are finished champagne, full sparkling champagne, that will be remise en scène. We open the bottle and empty the bottles back into a tank in order to complete the blend. So 1/3 of wines aged in stainless steel for the fruitiness, 1/3 of wines aged in oak cask for the patina and the secondary maturity, and 1/3 of wines that are champagne that have been aged in bottle on their lees, and that will bring a tertiary character to the blend, and that will bring also a lot of energy and freshness to the blend. The first version we start with, MC3 001.14, is the first cuvée of MC3. This goes in 2014, and it is made of 7 different wines. The first part is based on 2003. So the stainless steel part is made of 2003. Why 2003? Because we found that to support the blend with the oaky elements and with the champagne, you need to start with a vintage that has enough richness, intensity and structure. If you start with a vintage that is too light, the blend is going to collapse, or at least you're going to lose the fruit. So very important to start with a vintage base that has the intensity, the structure and the richness, such as in 2003. The second third of the MC3 001 is made of 3 different vintages, aged in oak, 2002 for the richness, 2000 for the freshness, and 1998 for the elegance. And then the third part of the blend is made of 3 Moët Chandon grand vintages, 1999 for the richness, 1998 for the elegance, and 1993 for the freshness. So overall it is a blend covering 10 years from 2003 down to 1993, involving wines that are either known for their richness or for their elegance or for their freshness, in order to create a great complexity into the wine. Bottled in 2004, 10 years on the lees. This goes in 2014 with an extra brut dosage, very low dosage, in order to preserve the nature of the wine. MC3 at the end is very complex. It has an unknown maturity, in the sense that you get fruitiness with maturity, you get generosity with elegance, and the wine really needs to breathe. There are so many layers of flavors in MC3 that you really need to let the wine breathe, and that's the reason why we have decided to use this Zalto Bordeaux glass to serve MC3. That is certainly not a champagne flute, but rather a large wine glass in order to let the wine breathe and reveal all its complexity. And the second character that I think is very specific to MC3 is texture. It's a wine that is very creamy, that has a sort of a suppleness and tenderness and viscosity that is really unique to it, but also combining, as already said, maturity with youth, power with finesse, generosity with elegance.